Welcome everybody to today's session on What's New with Amazon S3. I am Hiren Chandiramani and I'm a go-to-market specialist for Amazon S3. I'm very excited today to talk to you about all the new features we have launched over the past few months, and including 2 just from today. We have many new features to talk about, so let's dive right into it. My goal today is to introduce you to all the new features and talk a little bit about the use case as well as how they work. I will also do a quick recap of all the features we launched at reInvent 2020 last year and what we've been up to since then. But before I dive into that, let me start the session by saying thank you to our many customers for using S3 and helping us to innovate and launch new features. We have millions of customers who use S3 for virtually every use case, all the way from data lakes to content distribution to analytics and even backup. And when you think about a feature roadmap and what we have developed over the past few years, it all comes back from customer feedback. In fact, over 90% of our roadmap comes directly from customer requests. We can innovate because customers tell us what their use cases are and how they're using S3 and what they would like to see from S3. So I want to thank you all for that. Thank you very much. And we look forward to working with you again going forward on all new features. reInvent 2020 was truly special. Instead of going all the way to Las Vegas, we did the event entirely virtually, and we have launched some of our best features. Let me do a very quick recap of those features. We launched strong read after write consistency automatically for all application on any storage request at no additional cost. We've added new archive and deep archive access tiers to S3 intelligent tiering that optimize storage costs by providing you an opt-in capability for rarely accessed data. We launched Storage Lens that gives you organization-wide visibility into storage usage and activity trends. I'll talk a little bit more about Storage Lens in the coming slide, but one thing I do want to say here, if you are not using Storage Lens, I would highly encourage you to turn it on. It's extremely useful. S3 bucket keys reduced KMS request costs by about 99%. And finally, for replication, we added 2 new enhancements. We added multi-destination replication and bidirectional replication, both of which unlock new data protection use cases for our customers. But we are not waiting until this year's reInvent to launch new exciting products and features. I want to talk to you about the features that we have launched in the recent past. We innovate year-round for our customers, some of which are adding new functionality to our existing feature set, while others are brand new features which are being launched for the very first time. Specifically today, I want to talk to you about updates to the Storage Lens dashboard. I need to click through and show you what I'm talking about here. Amazon S3 Object Lambda, S3 support for Private Link, S3 access point aliases, and finally the 2 new features that we just talked about today, which are multi-region access points and enhancements to S3 intelligent tiering. We have a lot to cover, and I'm very excited, so let's jump into Storage Lens first. Customers use Amazon S3 to store large shared data sets across tens of thousands of accounts and buckets in multiple regions and thousands of prefixes. Managing, optimizing, reporting for the large shared data sets can be a challenge, and that is why we launched S3 Storage Lens. This gives you an organization-wide visibility into your object storage usage. S3 Storage Lens is the first cloud analytics solution that provides you with a single view of your storage usage and all the activity across these tens of thousands of buckets and in multiple regions. And you have the ability to drill down to generate insights at the account, bucket, or even the prefix level. Very cool. Storage Lens consists of a large number of metrics, 29 in total, and even more when you think of metrics, derived metrics, right? There are 15 storage usage metrics and 14 activity metrics. Many of these metrics have never been surfaced before in this way before, and now you have them in Storage Lens. Storage Lens also provides you an aggregation from the highest level of AWS organizations all the way down to the granular level of prefix. With metrics that are pre-aggregated at all these different levels, it allows you to drill down very easily to analyze the storage. And these metrics are updated on a daily basis. Think of it like a snapshot of your previous day's usage. Storage Lens also includes a very highly interactive dashboard, and that is embedded into the S3 console for easy access. You can use that to slice and dice your data. You can drill down and perform many other standard dashboard interactions that you normally would. And by the way, if for whatever reason you don't want to use the dashboard, we allow you to export those metrics. And you can export them either in CSV or Parquet format, and that will be delivered to a bucket of your choosing in your account. And finally, the icing on the cake for Storage Lens is the recommendations. They provide you an interpretation of your metrics and help you flag any outliers that you may have and take actions against those particular metrics. Very cool again. I love Storage Lens, like I said, and I think if you're not using it, it's something you should turn on right away in your accounts. Okay, so one cool feature that we have added recently is the account snapshots for Storage Lens. This allows you to view a snapshot, like the name says, of your account straight from the S3 management console. You can see your total storage, your object count, your object size, average object size, and other metrics. And if you want to drill down further, you can go down to your dashboard to view those metrics in more detail. Now I want to talk about another new feature we launched earlier this year. Another very cool feature, if I may add, Amazon S3 Object Lambda. Amazon S3 Object Lambda allows you to write your own code or to use your own code to process data that is being retrieved from S3 and before it's returned to the application. Customers have told us of many use cases. Some of them include filtering certain rows, maybe resizing your image, or redacting PII data, or maybe to otherwise modify the data returned by S3. All the request and data processing is done on AWS Lambda infrastructure, meaning that it's fully managed by AWS and there's nothing for you to manage. Your custom code executes on demand and eliminates the need to create and store derivative copies of your data and requires no changes to your application. Let me tell you why this is important, right? We often see customers that use a single set of data in S3 that feeds multiple applications, or maybe multiple users. And each of these applications or users require a slightly different view of their data based on their requirements. And so to provide multiple applications or users with the view of the data that they need, customers previously had one of two options. The first option was to create and manage an infrastructure of proxy or a proxy layer in front of S3, which then would create derivative copies on the fly, and you would have to manage that infrastructure. Or the second option was to create derivative copies while ingesting the data, which meant you're keeping many, many copies of your data, right? So now with Object Lambda, this is a fully managed solution. You no longer have to maintain your own infrastructure. You no longer have to create derivative copies. And you can meet the different views requirements of the different applications or users, and it greatly simplifies your architecture. Next, I want to talk to you about AWS Private Link for Amazon S3. We launched that early this year, I believe in February of this year. It provides you with an interface endpoint for S3 to give you the private access from on-premises to your S3 in a very simple configuration. Before Private Link, customers typically used a proxy infrastructure in their VPC to access S3 privately from on-premises instead of going via the internet. In this scenario, let's say you have an application on-prem that you want to access an S3 bucket in an AWS region. There's typically an AWS Direct Connect that you would use to connect your on-prem network to the VPC, and then you would probably configure a proxy infrastructure that consisted of a load balancer, a couple of EC2 instances, and a gateway endpoint. Applications on premises would send the S3 traffic to the load balancer, which would then forward it to one of the EC2 instances, and then which in turn would send the traffic via the gateway endpoint over the Amazon network. While this proxy infrastructure gave you the ability to connect to S3 from on-premises privately, they typically constrained performance and were very complex to manage and to scale. So not the most convenient thing to do. With S3, I went too far there on the slide. Well, now it's very simple. You can simply replace all that proxy infrastructure I talked about with a highly scalable and secure interface endpoint for S3 to connect to your application via Private Link. This significantly simplifies your network, as you now don't have to configure and manage any of the proxy infrastructure or an internet gateway to access S3 privately from on-premises. Let's move on to how we've improved access points. It is simpler to manage different access needs for an S3 bucket by creating an access point and a corresponding policy for each application or user that is accessing the shared data in that bucket. Think of the S3 bucket like a house, right? An access point is like another door into that house with its own lock and key that will give you access to a room inside that house. That access point that is the separate lock and key that gives you access to that room, or in this case, that portion of your bucket for a certain team or maybe certain individuals. You can create application or user-specific access points, permitting access to a part of the shared data sets within a bucket using policies which are tailored to that specific application or user. You can write granular policies that correspond to the view of the data that you want a particular set of users or applications to have, and you're no longer bottlenecked by a complex to manage bucket policy that you would have to review, audit, and modify every time there was a change in the access needs for this bucket. In this example, as you see on the screen, we have created 4 different access points, and each one has a different policy according to their requirements. A bucket can have multiple access points, but keep in mind that each access point can connect to only one bucket. You can create an access point that grants access to each individual user for your bucket, allowing separate management of each user's permission. Each access point also contains a network origin control, and a block access control. Access points are available with S3 object operations such as get object and put object. In addition, you can use that is not for this slide here. And now you know that why access points are important. Not all application and services can support an access point today. And that is because of the ARN format that an access point actually uses. And in order to make access points simpler and more compatible, we have launched Amazon S3 access point aliases that now allow any application that requires an S3 bucket name to easily use an access point. With S3 access points, you can create hundreds of unique policies to easily control access to shared data sets. And with access point aliases, you can now use S3 bucket names to access that data in S3. What that means is that with this update, customers can use access points and access point aliases with AWS services, such as EMR, Storage Gateway, Amazon Athena, and with open source packages, such as Apache Spark or even Apache Hive. You can also use access points and access point aliases with Amazon Partner Network Solutions without any code changes or any additional cost. Very cool. Okay. So moving on, I want to talk about multi-region applications. S3 buckets are regional based. Customers have always connected their client and applications to a single bucket in a single AWS region. However, customers have asked us to allow requests to S3 to operate across AWS regions for several different use cases. Content delivery across multiple AWS regions, providing the ability for applications and workloads that access and store data to operate across AWS regions, increasing network application availability to tolerate any connectivity issues that may occur on an S3 bucket within a single region, and improving request performance across multiple AWS regions. I'm happy to introduce S3 multi-region access points today that addresses these use cases. Amazon S3 multi-region access points accelerate performance by up to 60% when accessing data sets that are replicated across multiple AWS regions. It is based on the AWS Global Accelerator, and S3 multi-region access points considers factors like congestion or the location of the requesting application to dynamically route your request over the AWS network to a copy of your data with the lowest latency. This automatic routing allows you to take advantage of the global infrastructure of AWS while maintaining a simple application architecture. You can also use IAM Access Analyzer to preview, verify, and analyze permissions for public and cross-account access for buckets that will use the multi-region access points. Multi-region access points provide you with the same flexibility to replicate data, the same replication rules to provide maximum flexibility when choosing what data to replicate and to where to replicate it. You can also optionally use the replication time control to guarantee a 99.99% of all objects being replicated within a written SLA. S3 cross-region replication, or CRR, rules can be set up on the buckets directly, like you normally have done in the past, or you could use the multi-region access point template to set up CRR rules within multi-region access points. Either way is fine, right? And with either way, you get the same flexibility. You can still use multi-destination replication. You can still use bi-directional replication. And we also recommend that you turn on RTC, or replication time control, for that SLA-backed replication agreement that I talked about. That would guarantee that most of your objects would be replicated within seconds or not minutes, and 99% of all objects will complete replication in less than 15 minutes. Again, I think you should use that. It is very useful. Once you have configured all of that, a replication summary is displayed to show you your configurations across all the buckets that you've put behind a multi-region access point. If you have enabled replication metrics, you can also monitor the replication progress, including replication latency, byte spending replication, and object spending replications. Okay. Moving on to S3 Intelligent Tiering. S3 Intelligent Tiering is the only cloud storage class that delivers automatic storage cost savings when data access patterns change. And this is done without any performance impact or operational overhead. For a small monthly monitoring and automation fee, S3 Intelligent Tiering will monitor the access patterns of your data within the bucket and automatically move objects that have not been accessed to a lower cost tier. We have automatic storing cost savings in 2 low latency, high throughput access tiers. And for that data that can be accessed asynchronously, customers can choose to activate automatic archiving within S3 Intelligent Tiering. There are no retrieval fees for S3 Intelligent Tiering. If the data has been tiered down into an infrequent access class, access tier, and you happen to access the data, it will automatically move back into the frequent access tier. And there's no additional fees for moving data between the tiers in S3 Intelligent Tiering. Now, Amazon S3 Intelligent Tiering is going to further optimize your costs for small and short-lived objects. Today, we announced 2 changes or enhancements to S3 Intelligent Tiering. The first one, we no longer require a minimum storage duration for objects. And second, we have removed the object monitoring and automation fee for objects that are smaller than 128 KB. Previously, S3 Intelligent Tiering was optimized for objects that were stored for a minimum of 30 days and objects that were larger than 128 KB. With these changes now, S3 Intelligent Tiering is the ideal storage class for data with unknown, changing, or unpredictable data access patterns, independent of object size or storage duration. And this is extremely useful for use cases such as data lakes, analytics, and other new applications for which you may not know the access pattern right off the get-go. Okay, so to tie it all back together, since reInvent 2020, the Amazon S3 team has been extremely busy with launching new features that unlock new use cases for our customers. Features such as account snapshots with Storage Lens means that you can get to your metrics extremely easy. You get a cool snapshot of it, and you can drill down further. We have made access point improvements with new aliases and multi-region access points that unlock both compatibility and improved operation resiliency. Object Lambda helps you add custom code to your S3 GET request, and hence you don't have to either stand up additional proxy layers or you don't need to keep many derivative copies. And finally, the change to S3 intelligent tiering makes it easier to leverage S3 intelligent tiering to optimize your storage costs. In summary, we are very excited with these new features. We are excited to see what you as our customers do with these new features and what new use cases they unlock for you.